All right. So, good evening, guys. This is a little different than our usual sort of meetups. So we are here tonight with Beachbody's doctor. So we've got Dr. Luigi Gratton on he's new, so he's been with us for about 4 months now. I think you said it was five months. He has been working with Beachbody, and so he came over from another company, was really interested in Beachbody's products. Have been checking them out for a while, and I'll actually let you tell the story a little bit more. But tonight, our goal is to really help to, number one, educate you on Shakeology and to be just product confident. And the first time that I heard Luigi speak was at the New Leader Conference when I was in LA in February. And I was just very much moved by his presentation, the amount of knowledge, the way that he positions that information in such an easy to understand way. And it will also help you as you are talking to your potential clients coming in to be a part of your challenge groups. It'll just give you that backing to say, okay, I understand, and this is why it costs what it is, and this is what goes into it, and this is why you can feel confident in asking, the people that are going to be purchasing from you to pull that trigger and make that purchase, because they are truly getting an incredible quality. And I just love hearing it because it gives me confidence in talking about it as well. And I found, so last week, Luigi was on our Diamond call, our Diamond and Above call, and he went over some information with us. And I just immediately found myself being able to implement all of what he talked about in my conversations with my challengers. So as you're going through this call tonight, I want you to think about a couple of things. How can I take the information that we're sharing and work this into my challenge groups? How can I make this something that I talk to people about as they are experiencing Shakeology for the first time? How can I work this into maybe informational groups that you are doing with people that are interested in the product? How can you use this in posts that you do to kind of educate people on what they're getting and the quality? So there's a lot of different ways you can use the information tonight that we are going to share. So with that being said, Luigi, we're excited to have you here. We're going to kind of go through a little presentation and then we'll open it up for some questions. I can kind of filter those and float those over to you if we want to do it that way. Does that sound good?
Absolutely. Right. Sounds great, Melanie.
All right. Thank you for having me. Perfect. I'm going to turn it over to you and you can take the floor.
Great. Well, first of all, I want to say hello to everybody. Good evening, wherever you are in the world of Shakeology and Beachbody. I think a lot of you are on the East Coast, but maybe some of you are out West on Pacific time like me. But thanks for having me on, Melanie. It's been a pleasure working with you in the Coach Advisory Board at the different training events. And I'm hoping I can meet many of your organizational coaches, a lot of you on the call tonight. Hopefully I can meet you all in person sometime. So I've been, as Melanie said, my name is Luigi, kind of a funny name. If you have any children around the ages, video game ages, they may have heard of me from Mario Brothers, okay? I don't have a brother named Mario though. I do have a brother named Luca, okay? So, but that's as unique as it gets. But I've been in Beachbody about 5 months, and I'm a clinical nutrition doctor with a background in family medicine. So I went to UCLA, which is a school here in Los Angeles, about 10 minutes away from Beachbody, studied human physiology. I'm going to give you guys my 10-second primer on my history so you know who I am and what I'm doing for the company and why I'm here to sort of work for you. So I was really interested in college. I ran track and cross country. I was an avid varsity athlete. And I always wanted to become a physical therapist and think about rehab medicine and nutrition. These two things I was very interested in. That's why Beachbody has been such a unique fit for me, because it sort of encapsulates all the things that I always wanted to do. Work with people, help them get better, not write a lot of medical prescriptions, which I still do. I'm a licensed physician, but I really wanted to work with food and supplementation to help people get their performance and help people sort of avoid disease. So that's been sort of like my ethos, my mantra. And I've been watching Beachbody for many years, as Melanie said. I didn't even know Shakeology was connected to Beachbody for years. I had no idea. I'd see these Shaun T commercials or Tony Horton. I saw this stuff way before Autumn came on the scene. And I didn't know what Beachbody was or what they were selling. I just knew, like, wow, that's amazing that they have this ability to take exercise in a public health platform. They take 30 minutes of an exercise commercial and it goes out to millions and millions of people People do that exercise, they lose weight, they get off their diabetes medication, they drop their blood pressure. This was a model that I was blown away by. I'd never seen this in public health, healthcare, or medicine. So I think of Beachbody as a public health platform. That's why I'm very impressed by what you guys do. And I recently was at a training with Doug Moss. And Doug, many of you probably have seen Doug as one of your Utah trainers. And he got really teary-eyed when he was on stage. He was crying, and because he was talking about how important you, the coaches, are to getting people healthy. And it all hit me like, wow, it's not just about the products that I love, but it's about you, the coaches. So I love doing these trainings, and I'm hoping that we can get to some of your questions so that we can really help you, okay? Because you're really the advocate. The doctor can only see one person for 1 hour at a time. You can talk to thousands of people every week and impact their health, which is so powerful to me. Okay, so that's my background, family medicine doctor, clinical nutrition specialty, really love exercise. Used to be a runner when I was much younger. I still do like power walking on a treadmill, and I lift weights. But I'm not, 80-day obsession, my wife is doing that. I'm more the 3-week yoga retreat guy right now. Okay, I'm kind of like starting into my programs. I'm going to try and keep graduating and move along. But I'm really delighted to work with you all. So as Melanie mentioned, I want to talk products. And Shakeology is our hero product. And it's a major reason why I was attracted to the company, because I'd never seen a shake like it. When it first came on the scene, I was working in a company where we were selling meal replacement shakes and tablets and fish oil, a lot of great stuff. And I believed in those products, and I think they're great. I still know a lot of people at that company. But what struck me about this particular product, Shakeology, was the protein, first off. I'd never seen a large-scale company like Beachbody, $1 billion company, selling organic pea protein, sustainable rice protein, sacha inchi, stuff I hadn't even really, worked with in human nutrition, flax and chia protein. These were really revolutionary. Nobody was selling that stuff. People were only selling soy, corn, wheat, and whey and casein. These were the only proteins that I knew of. Pea was just coming on the scene. So what Shakeology did with Isabel and Darren was absolutely revolutionary. And I'd been in many, many countries looking at many products. So that's what really struck me. I was like, wow, how are they doing this? And then I kept seeing Shakeology, whatever, would turn up here and there. And it was really a phenomenal product. So I think the first important thing is to understand that as a trailblazing company, Beachbody was really one of the first on the scenes for a large-scale billion-dollar company to deliver a shake like that. So I want to talk about 5 easy points, as Melanie mentioned, that you can take to the marketplace about Shakeology, and then you can ask as many questions as you like for the Q&A or for the training. And Melanie, if she thinks you're the MC, if you think this is getting boring, just give me a cut, and we can go to rapid fire questions and things like that. Okay, 5 points on Shakeology. Number 1, protein. Many of you have come to Beachbody for what I consider the results. When I saw those Tony Horton commercials 15 years ago, and I see this dude who's ripped in his muscles and the biceps, I realized that he's selling me results. And I got to meet Tony Horton a couple months ago. It was like meeting Tom Cruise. I'm like, you're the guy. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm sitting in the room with the guy. Nicest guy in the world. Couldn't be more gracious. But what's incredible is that Beachbody sells results through protein, which is one of the most important nutrients in the bag of Shakeology. So if you take any of your bags of Shakeology, you look on the back, you're going to see a proprietary protein blend. Okay, that protein blend, whether it's the whey blend with sacha inchi and chia flax, or it's the vegan blend, and you'll notice oat and rice. It doesn't matter, but the key thing is that the protein in Shakeology is clean. So that's the first thing I would let you know. A lot of companies and a lot of people that you're talking to who buy competitor products are buying proteins that are not clean. Now, I'm not going to, we don't want to belittle any other companies, but just understand that our sourcing and manufacturing clean protein, I would actually call it sustainable protein, because we find proteins that are not genetically modified, like GMO soy or GMO corn or GMO wheat. We don't do any genetically modified proteins. That's something that you should tell your customers. It's really, really important, because that's the cheap stuff that a lot of companies are selling. So we use premium protein blends that you'll notice on the bag of your Shakeology, right on the back. Now, what does protein do? Well, this is where it's really important. This is the results I talked about with Tony Horton. When you look at a results page on Instagram, that's protein, because when you eat protein, it supplies your lean muscle, and your biceps look beautiful, and your abdominal muscles look cut, because protein gives you muscle, which burns 14 calories of energy, like fat, every single day. So every time you're having your Shakeology, it's feeding your muscle tissue, and every pound of muscle burns 14 calories of fat at rest every day. So even if you're skipping an 80-day obsession, and I'm sure you're not, but even if you missed a day, just if you're sitting with your children or you're going to work, that protein is doing work for you. When you service your protein and you take care of your muscle tissue, it sort of raises the metabolic tax in your body and makes your body burn more calories, and that's what the results are all about. So I would say clean protein that's relatively sustainable. It's not genetically modified. It's not the corn, the wheat, or the soy, okay? Very important you share that with your customers. And of course, takes care of your lean muscle mass, and that burns calories. So that's point number one, okay? Hopefully that's not too much, but I want you to think about why protein's important and how it gives results, all right? All right, number two, let's talk about sugar. A lot of you hear questions about sugar, and I've heard it in the company, and I've seen a lot of products that have lots of sugar. This does not have a lot of sugar. So if a customer asks you, hey, what's up with the sugar in Shakeology? That's kind of high, right? You say, no, this is actually relatively low in sugar. There's about 7 grams of sugar in almost all of the Shakeology blends. You'll see it right there on the label, 7 grams of sugar, and we use, most of that is organic cane sugar. The other portion of sugar comes from the actual fruits that we're putting into Shakeology. So you have a natural blend of sugar, and you have organic cane sugar. Now, why do we use organic cane sugar? Well, guess what? Food companies, they lie a little bit. You're going to see fructose on a lot of labels. You can see it on a can of soda. It may say high fructose corn syrup or fructose syrup, but basically that all comes from genetically modified corn. Now, I have no problem with corn. Corn, I like eating corn. It's great. It's delicious, right? But the problem is a lot of GMO corn is sprayed with pesticides and herbicides and chemicals that gets into the food supply after they harvest that corn, and they make corn sweetener or high fructose corn sugar or fructose that you will often see on a label. So why do we label organic cane sugar? We want you to know when you're talking to customers that you can ensure that the sugar is organic from its sourcing. And a lot of other companies are going to say, well, we sell fructose. It's fruit sugar. But that is actually from GMO corn because they don't have to disclose that information. So please, please let folks know you've got organic cane sugar. That means it's free of the pesticides, the herbicides, sewage treatment, irradiation. When we're paying for that organic cane sugar, that means the farms are super pure, very clean, and they follow certain guidelines. And that's why you see the word organic. Okay, now that's number one. Number two of it, a second point about sugar is that we don't have a lot. 7 grams means each gram is 4 calories. That's only 28 calories of sugar, a sweetener. So when someone says, hey, there's a lot of sugar in my Shakeology, you say, no, that's not true. That's a myth. That's 28 calories. That's about 1/3 of a piece of fruit. I'll say it again. If a customer or a new coach says, hey, there's a lot of sugar in Shakeology, you say that's not true. It's only 28 calories, 7 grams. That's 1/3 of a piece of fruit, like a medium-sized banana. So very important. Now, if your customer says, well, I still don't really care for that much sugar, what we've found is that most moms, because most of you moms, and I know that Beachbody is large percent, 90% female, most of you who are head of household, or whether you're a mom or not, you may be shopping for the family or you're shopping for your significant other. And that means you're looking for products that are less than 10 grams of sugar per serving. Most moms are looking for products that are less than 10 grams per serving. So again, we're 7, we're significantly lower than that. and we're certified low glycemic index, okay? And that just simply means that sugar has a sustained release in the body and you feel more energy. So real quick to recap on sugar, it's organic, not that genetically modified stuff, nothing from corn, right? We don't use any of that stuff because that has herbicides, pesticides, and chemicals that gets into the sugar supply and into our kids' body and into our body. We don't touch that stuff, okay? That's another reason why in performance, we move to organic cane sugar to make sure that when your customers are buying it, they can guarantee it. It's organic, okay? Number two, we mentioned the issue with the calories, only 7 grams, 28 calories, 1/3 of a piece of fruit. And the third thing is it has a low glycemic index, which you will often notice on the bag, but you can be confident every single blend of Shakeology has a low glycemic index. That just means it slowly releases into the body so you feel sustained energy, okay? So that's 2 points. I want to take a stop here for a second and make sure that since Melanie's the MC, that I'm not boring you all if it's later in the evening out there on the East Coast, and if this is okay. We've got 3 more points.
You are good. You are good. And guys, as you think of questions, pop those in the comments and then I can fire those off at the end too. But no, perfect. You are doing great.
Fantastic. So we went through the protein, you've got the sugar, and again, as a physician, we can just talk about the metabolism of carbohydrates. That's boring. And most of your customers don't care, but they're going to ask about certain buzzwords and terms. And that's why I wanted to talk about those key things that you can sort of help educate them on. Okay. The third area I want to talk about is really the fiber, the probiotics, and some of the digestive enzymes. So I put all this stuff together because it's really the GI stuff. Now, this is a family show. A lot of you have kids and your significant others, but I always like to say the cool thing about Beachbody, the protein that gives your muscle results is kind of sexy. Like when I see these boards at the events where people have the before and afters, and you know, my wife, we have 2 kids. We have almost a 4.5-year-old, and our son's turning 3. She's doing 80-day obsession. She's halfway through, and I've never seen her abdominal muscles before. Like, you know, we've been together almost 7 years. I'm not even kidding. And it's like, I'm like, hey, honey, this is hot. You're like, I didn't know you had abs. And, you know, so she's really getting like cut and ripped, and she's excited. And I'm excited. I'm like, this is great. But when we sell results in Beachbody, it's kind of like, it's a cool thing. So protein, I say, has got like an aesthetic element to it. Fiber does not, okay? Many of you are posting on Instagram pictures of your abdominal muscles, your biceps, or your husband or your boyfriend or whomever got the results. But with fiber, no one's posting on Instagram a picture of the toilet talking about I'm regular because I'm drinking my Shakeology, right? We don't do that. But fiber, so it's not so sexy, but it's essential. It's so, so important. And this is why we have to get every single one of our customers on 25 grams of fiber every day. Now, here's the great opportunity. Most of the people, whether you got business in the US, Canada, or the UK, the average person in those countries is having 12 to 13 grams of fiber. They're super deficient. So we're about 12 to 14 grams deficient in every human that we talk to every day. Shakeology, 4 grams of fiber. If you can get them on the digestive health boost, 7 grams of fiber. Think about that. If you sell them a shake and you get them a boost, you're going to literally take care of a bunch of their problems. Now, they might not tell you. It's often a difficult conversation to ask a new customer, hey, do you have problems going to the bathroom? I would not lead with that question, okay? If you're talking to customers online or you're Instagramming and Facebooking, but you can ask them, hey, you can talk about your testimonial if you had digestive issues. They often will identify with that. 70% of the patients that I see have digestive issues, and they don't want to talk about it till I ask. So you can ask them in a very cool, benign, simple way. See if they've got upper issues like, you know, do you have reflux, upper GI indigestion, or do you have constipation, irregularity, bloating, gas? You can ask them those questions and they will appreciate it. You get them on a Shakeology every day with a boost of digestive health, they're going to feel great. What they'll tell you is interesting. They'll say, I'm sleeping better. I'm clearly going to the bathroom. My skin's clearer. I feel more energy. And here's the kicker that my patients always tell me, I can think clearer. I never understand that one. But you know, when people are just pooping, they just feel like they're thinking better, right? So this is, again, the power of Shakeology. And the reason why that's so potent is the fiber, the digestive enzymes, and the probiotic. A lot of companies sell probiotics. We sell, I'll get a vegan blend. We sell something we put something called Bacillus coagulans, and you're going to see it in the proprietary probiotic blend, the bottom there, right there, the last thing. And you'll notice something called BC, Bacillus coagulans. The cool thing about Bacillus coagulans, and a lot of companies sell probiotics that get destroyed in the stomach by your stomach acid, Bacillus coagulans is wrapped in a shell, naturally, its own shell. It's like a protein shell, and it gets through the stomach acid. And when it gets to the right temperature in the intestine, in the small intestine, it opens up, and the good bacteria comes out, and it plants in your intestine and does its job. What does it do? Talks to your brain, to your heart, to your nervous system, to your muscles, and it does everything from digesting nutrients to making you feel better to making you go poop. So that's why it's such an important thing, and that's why people feel results. So we covered protein, we cover the sugar, and we cover the fiber, digestive enzymes, and the probiotics and things like that, okay? And there's a lot there, so we don't want to get too much into it. Last two things I'll mention is the healthy fats and the phytonutrients and adaptogens. The thing about healthy fats, this is point number 4, most of us, when we go out and you order something in a restaurant, it's covered in these fats called omega-6s. And you've probably heard of omega-3s. Those are in fish, flax, and chia. And you may have heard of omega-6. Those are often in corn and other types of seeds that soybean, you can extract omega-6s from wheat. Now, here's the thing. They're both essential. We have to eat both of those because those fats are really important for the heart, the skin, nails, the hair, the brain. Your brain is 40% omega-3 fats. In fact, if many of you are, if you're nursing, your baby's brain, when it's developing, it's got to get healthy fats. When your baby's going from 1 to 2 years of age, it's got to get healthy fats. So fats are really, really important in the diet. We don't think they're bad. They're good. We just need the right blend. Now, here's the kicker. The omega-3 and omega-6 are supposed to be in a 1-to-1 blend. However, with the current food supply, the omega-6s are in a 30-to-1 ratio. And a lot of you are thinking, who cares? Well, when the omega-6s are in such a high ratio, they cause inflammation in the body. They cause hyperactivity and ADD in kids. They cause diabetes and high blood pressure in adults. And they cause cardiovascular disease. So we believe this really messed up ratio with fats in the food supply is a major reason for a lot of chronic disease, from kids to adults to the elderly, okay? So we can remedy that. What do we do in Beachbody? We drop the omega-6s really low. So if you look on your Shakeology, you're gonna see fats on the label from chia and flax, those are the omega-3s, and from oat, that's your omega-6. And guess what? We only put about 2 grams of fat in there, so it's very little, and we put it in a 1-to-1 ratio. And that's why just getting someone on Shakeology, you get them off those fried foods, those crackers, cookies, and muffins filled with omega-6s. And when they get that ratio from 30-to-1 down to 1-to-1, or even 2 or 3-to-1, magic happens. And we know there's a lot of great stuff when you get those fats in balance. So not super, I don't want you to get too technical and worry about trying to train a new customer or coach on that. But just remember the omega-3 and omega-6 fats, they're essential, but we want to make sure you have a little bit in the right amounts. And of course, if you hear Isabel Train and Darren, they talk about putting healthy fats in their shake, like avocados or olives or olive oil. You talk to Isabel, she likes to put omega-9s. Those are the avocados and the olive oils that you may hear about. Those are really healthy, monounsaturated fats. Okay, so that's point 4. We covered protein, sugar, the digestive enzymes and fiber, and we've got the point about healthy fats. Last point we'll discuss is what I always joke about, and this was when I was at the New Leaders Conference with Melanie, and I was joking about my son, Luca. I adore this guy. He's turning 3 in May, but he is a pain in the tush. Let me tell you, this guy is just tests me. So Juliana, our daughter, who is 4 and a third, she's a dream. She's an angel. She's like super smart. She does everything we say. She's got manners. Yes, please, no, thank you, all this. She's incredible. My son is like an emotional terrorist. He just drives us crazy. So what I've noticed, though, as I've been drinking the shake, I just do better on the weekends with my son. He's like, he's getting better. He's in preschool. But here's the thing. I think it's the blend of phytonutrients and adaptogens. And that's the point number 5. You may notice with your coaches, when they sign up and they're drinking Shakeology and they're consuming it on a daily basis, you're going to notice things like their hair is, growing faster. You guys are, one of the things you'll always notice, the fingernails grow faster. You can guarantee your new coach, the new coach you sign up, you can guarantee, and lawyers might say, well, don't guarantee it, but the fingernails grow faster because they're getting these healthy nutrients in the body. But what I notice is that people deal better with their day-to-day operation stuff at work, their kids, their family, they just feel better. And I think that's Darren's point about this elegant blend of the phytonutrients and the adaptogens and all those things that make us feel amazing. And you'll notice that proprietary superfruit antioxidant and proprietary super green phytonutrient blends, okay? So now a lot of those things, you're thinking, there's like 30, 40 nutrients in there. Why do we need to know about that? It's really easy, and then I'll stop with this point. Fruits and vegetables, there's thousands and thousands of them on Earth. Literally 20,000 different species of plants that we can eat. But we only eat about 3 in the US, Canada, and the UK. Those are potatoes for the amounts of French fries that we make, tomatoes for the amount of ketchup that we make to dip the French fries in, and lettuce to go on the hamburger. Those are the 3 most commonly eaten fruits and vegetables in the US, Canada, and the UK. You can look those statistics up. It's phenomenal and it's scary. That's what we feed to our kids, and that's what we feed to our spouses and family members. We gotta get more nutrients from other fruits and vegetables. So when Darren and Isabel designed the shake, they put in all these wonderful things from ashwagandha to reishi mushroom, because there are pigments and nutrients in those fruits and vegetables that help support the human body. So don't worry about teaching your new coach all that information, or your customer. Just understand that you can't survive on French fries and ketchup. You gotta have more nutrients, okay? So I'm gonna stop there. We got the protein, you got the sugars, you got the fiber and the blend, you've got the healthy fats, and of course the phytonutrients and adaptogens that Darren and Isabel are always talking about. So I wanna stop there, a lot to digest, but I want you to feel super confident that it's not just a complex bag of ingredients, but it's actually sort of an elegant mix of things that were specifically designed. Okay, so I'm going to stop, and Melanie, you let me know if we're doing okay here.
You're doing really well. And one thing that I think was in the protein part, maybe when we talked last week, but the part that I think is really interesting is you shared a little bit about the testing of Shakeology and even in the performance line, and something that maybe that coaches probably don't realize the in-depth amount of testing we do to make sure that the product is exactly what the consumer is actually getting. Will you kind of do a little overview of that?
Absolutely, I would love to. So every bag, as Melanie just said, every bag of Shakeology, or even a performance product, I've got my little products off the side here. Take any product in Beachbody, and there's a certain guarantee that you can look your new customer or new coach in the eye and tell them, this is super pure, it's really safe and effective, and it's guaranteed. So let's go through the 3 steps of testing. And I'll try and do this. They're very sophisticated, but I'm going to try and break them down very easily so that you can talk about them to your new customer. So number 1, it's what we call ingredient identification. Okay, number 1 is the ingredient identification. So we've got all these ingredients on the back. We buy these from different places. So if Darren says, get the ashwagandha from this lady over here or this guy, we want to go to the suppliers that we trust, that we know are good in the industry. And that's where Darren, Isabella, and our technical team. So there's tons of suppliers. So what do? We send our team of scientists to the suppliers, and they do what I call the white glove test. They put on like the white glove, sort of, metaphorically, and they check all of like the manufacturing facility where they make the ashwagandha or the green tea or the reishi mushroom. Okay, so the ingredient identification is the first step, because they have to check and make sure that those ingredients are actually what they are. So we look to see, is this real ashwagandha? Yes, it is. Great. We're going to order X amount and you're going to ship it to us. Most companies do not do that. They don't send their scientists to the factory. They just order it and they wait for the bag of corn to come in or the bag of whey protein. There's no way we'll do that. We have to send our people, and we do it on a continual basis. I was just talking with one of our guys last week. He's in Indonesia. I was emailing him. He's like, yeah, I'll talk to you next week when I'm back. He was actually doing the white glove test on one of our suppliers there. Okay. So first, ingredient testing. We have to make sure that what we put on the label is actually the real stuff. And we have to test that 60 times, 60. So we test 60 times with the ingredient identification. That's step one. Step two, we ship all that stuff into the place where we're blending the products, because we're going to blend it into the bag. So now we've got, the pile of sacha inchi protein. We've got some rice protein. So now we test it again to make sure it's still what we purchased. And then we test it another 60 times. That means every batch we take 60 samples, make sure there's no wood chips or, heavy metal or weird stuff that someone added in there. And we make sure that it's still ashwagandha, okay? So that's a really important second step. The third step, which is really crucial, we blend everything together. That's when you got your bag of Shakeology fully blended. And then we take a batch of that and we test every single batch 300 times. I'll say it again. We take every single batch of Shakeology, we tested 300 times. And the reason we do that is we need to make sure when you have the bag that's going to get shipped to your house, that your children or your husband or your son, whatever his daughter is going to drink, we've got to ensure that it's not only premium quality ingredients, but it's absolutely pure and there's nothing that got in there that we didn't want, number one. And we have to guarantee that the levels of ingredients are in the right amounts. So so think step one, step two, step three, think 60, 60, and 300. The 60 ingredient testing, the 60 again when we blend everything, before we blend everything together, and then the 300 after blending. Then it gets shipped to you. And Melanie just touched on this. With performance products, energize, recover, hydrate. After we've done all that testing, and then we put it on the shelf, we have to take another batch testing and check for banned substances. Because if you're working with a hockey player in Canada, or if you're working with a high school coach in your local town, you want to make sure that the products you deliver have none of those illegal banned substances that we guarantee with that logo, right? You're going to see Informed Sport on the logo. So what do? We test a fourth stage for the performance stack. So just think 3 steps of very precise testing on Shakeology and all the products. And then with the performance stack, we do a 4th level of banned substances testing. And thank you for asking, Melanie. It's super important, and it's a big confidence builder for all the coaches, I believe.
I agree. That was the one part that I was like, wow, that's really, and I know that a lot of even just protein companies, they're like, even just what they put on the label, they kind of hide things because what is it? Is it the sugars? Is that the thing? Like they don't have to label it a certain way?
Absolutely. So so this is a great point you bring up, Melanie.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came to the company, I learned, I saw rice protein on the label, and I said, oh, that's cool. Use rice protein. I'm a big fan. And the head of research and development, he's our executive vice president, a guy named Mike Wilson. He said, oh, dude, no. Did you know that most rice protein in the world is dirty? So we have a lot of our competitors who buy rice protein and they get a lot of it from a particular country. I don't want to sort of go there, right? And because they buy it from this particular country, a lot of the manufacturing standards are very low, and that means a lot of heavy metal gets into the rice. We get our protein from specific places where they're very clean, where we know that they're and the same with our pea protein. So we can ensure the level of the accuracy of the protein, to your point. And when you see pea or rice protein in the label, ours is super clean, but a lot of our competitors that are significantly cheaper are not using premium ingredients. So what happens with your coaches? They're like, oh, I can get pea or rice protein that's cheaper. It's not the same stuff, you guys. It may have heavy metals. It can have like a lot of dirty stuff in there. Now, I'm not saying they're lying because they're just buying the stuff, but they're not worried about the quality. They don't have these people who fly the manufacturers to do the testing, or the ingredient manufacturers.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah.
Big point, we're a cut above in that area.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, so let me go through and just, a couple of things I think, Steph, you asked this question just about, in a couple of sentences, if you were going to be describing why Shakeology is so special and worth every penny, like what would be your 3-sentence sort of spiel?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I think of Shakeology as being two things. Like I said, it was a trailblazing shake. So no one was doing, and that, there's almost 800 different shakes in the marketplace. I know a lot of you coaches are like, yeah, Luigi, that's why it's hard to sell Shakeology sometimes. Totally understand that. 800 other competitors, everyone's jockeying for position, right? But when you really think about it, there's about 3 that really compete with us. And that means US, Canada, UK. There's really about 3, maybe 4, less than 5, that are really in the same class as us. And by the way, of those 3 to 4, no one has coaches. No one has a network. Those sit on the shelf. So of course they're going to be a little bit less, and we don't know what they're doing with quality and all that stuff. So here's one of the pitches that I always say. When you consider the uniqueness of our shake, the way it has all of these 60 plus ingredients on the label, I think of this as not complex, but elegant. I think of this as elegant nutrition. When I hear Darren and Isabel talking, and it's like poetry when they're talking about this and that. But think of the elegance of the shake, and think about what it would cost you. And many of you have seen that Tony Horton video, that old video where he's doing the checkout line, ashwagandha, good for the libido, and he's doing all that stuff, right? It's kind of funny. But when you think about it, when the bag of Shakeology is X amount of money compared to if you bought all the unique individual ingredients, in the US would be almost $1,000, okay? So when you think about it, a little over $100 for a bag of Shakeology, and I know that's a premium value, but $1,000 trying to get the ashwagandha, the reishi mushroom, the green tea, all these different blends, the bacillus coagulans probiotic that actually works, it's very, very pricey. So just from a standpoint of value, it's clearly superior because of the blend. But what I also like to think of is what's not in Shakeology, not just what is. So I like to say, okay, that's what's in Shakeology, the 60 plus ingredients, but what's not in there. No genetically modified proteins like corn, soy, or wheat. No artificial flavors like sucralose, like aspartame, NutraSweet, Ace K. These are saccharin, all those artificial sweet. We don't use any of those. We don't use any sugar alcohols like xylitol or erythritol or maltitol. We don't use any of those. A lot of food companies, those 790 shakes you're going to see, they're putting all this stuff in. The food dyes that touched on, we don't use any of those, whether it's food dye red, yellow, or blue. We don't touch any of those. In fact, a lot of you sort of laugh about Hydrate and Energize. It's got that bright, color because it's a natural food coloring from quercetin. So it's all natural. So we weave in this all natural story with all the products. And I know we have premium products and a premium value, but when I think about it, my wife using the products every day, love of my life, I want her to have the best things in her body. My daughter, who's almost 4.5, drinking daily sunshine every day, I want her to have the best stuff in her body. So I don't even think twice if I'm talking to someone about, I don't sell the products like you guys do, But when I'm defending the products, I'm like, these are amazing and they're so incredibly worth it. So I think two things: what's in the products, those 60 plus ingredients, and what's not in the products. And Melanie, I'm going to write you an email that I got from the research and development team of all the things that are not in the products. I'll send it to you and you can share it with your whole team. It's
Okay.
like huge laundry list of what people put in the food industry foods, and we don't have any of those things in our products.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That was perfect.
Good question.
What about the differences between vegan and the regular? Is there a benefit on the vegan blend to those that do eat meat, I guess?
Absolutely. Yeah. So great question. So it really depends on what your philosophy is. So I should point out first, so here's our vegan, here's our regular.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of your new coaches and customers may say, well, I'm not vegan. Why do I want to do a vegan blend? We're finding out that a lot of moms, they're not really vegan. What they're doing is they look for clean labels. So the real clean label advocates, they assume, well, if I go vegan, I'm going to have a super clean label. Now, we happen to have super clean labels with our whey, but many of you are doing 80-day obsession. You may hear from Autumn about dairy allergies, whether it's lactose intolerance or whey allergies to different dairy proteins. If you have an intolerance to a dairy protein, or you're meeting a coach or a new customer, put them on the vegan right away. In fact, a lot of your folks who are doing 80-day obsession and they're on the performance stack, if they think, I have a problem with dairy, I put them right on vegan. They can use this as a recovery shake. It's not positioned perfectly as a recovery shake the way Recover is, but it works just fine. And to Melanie's question, what's the difference in protein? Well, here is our whey, and we've got we're at 17 grams of protein in your whey and 16 grams in your vegan. I want to make sure I'm good. Yeah, 16 grams. So they're pretty much equal in terms of the protein load. Recover's 20 grams. And these are perfectly formulated because truthfully, every time we as human beings eat, we only digest about 20 grams of protein, somewhere about 16 to 20 grams. So you may go to, let's say, General Nutrition Center, GNC. They have something called a 50-gram slam. It's a big protein load. No one's digesting all that protein. You just void it out. So it's a waste of money. So think about how these are perfectly positioned, 16 to 20 grams, whether you're using the whey, 16 grams with the vegan, or if you're using Recover, it's 20 grams, let's say after a workout. That's important. Another thing I'll point out in the difference between whey and vegan, you'll notice that the whey has a full complement of vitamins and minerals. So you'll notice the label has got tons of vitamins and minerals on there. The vegan, Isabel and Darren, when they designed it, the label doesn't have as many vitamins and minerals on there. There's a very specific reason. Isabel and Darren did not want, for people who are, again, clean label advocates, if you're talking to a mom who's like, I don't want a lot of the extra stuff. So they wanted a lot of the vitamins to come from the food that you add in there. So if you're adding kale, spinach, sprouts, carrots, blueberries, whatever you're adding, those are going to have a lot of nutrients. And a lot of vegans or clean label advocates want to get their vitamins from that. They want to have that option. So it's not that we were just trying to be like cheap or something. We wanted to make sure for the true purists that you're talking to that you can cover all their questions and provide, that support on the label.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay. I did not know that one. All right. So here's another one. This is something that people always say about explain to somebody that's not processed. I hear objections that I only eat whole foods and nothing processed. I understand it comes from the whole food, but there is a process to break that down. So how would you handle that objection?
Absolutely. So this is a great question, actually. So yes, so people who say that are absolutely right. And there are some folks, I went to a conference with Dean Ornish and the guy who wrote the China study, T. Colin Campbell and Dr. Esselstyn. These are kind of these famous doctors who are plant-based. They're into no processing, whole foods. And I love what they're talking about. I've gone to a couple of their conferences. And I remember a doctor went up and said, look, I'm doing all natural fruits and vegetables, and I'd like to do a green shake in the morning. How do you feel about a green shake? And they're like, no, we're not into that because we want you to chew your food. So that's where, as a physician, I totally disagree. Because not that I disagree with their idea. They want to get everyone, those whole food advocates who believe in no processing or minimal processing. It doesn't really mix with reality with the customers, or I should say the patients that I work with and the customers that you talk to. So it would be awesome if everyone had their own organic garden and all they were doing was eating fresh carrots and cauliflower from their garden. But that's not what's happening. Every customer or coach that you're talking to, they know somebody who has a chronic disease. 70% of the country that they live in is overweight or obese. And there's a ton of heart attacks, strokes, and really bad sort of diabetic, you name it, is going on. So the reality is that no one's doing that, okay? So it's not to say that's wrong, but I'm saying we can bridge that. We can actually have people start on Shakeology. It's minimally processed because we do use whole food ingredients, nothing artificial, all natural, no preservatives, no artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, okay? Everything, well, I can't say everything's organic, but I would say the proteins are organic. We can't certify every single of these 60 plus organic ingredients because we can't go to the Indonesian plant and make them certified organic. But for the most part, everything is whole food based, and then we have to kind of chop it up and put it in the shake. So I would say, yes, whole food advocates are great. What I would argue is to bridge, to get to that point where you're eating just your whole food salads and your macrobiotic diet, whatever they're doing, that you got to start somewhere. And I think the Shakeology is a wonderful bridge to get there. And usually people just end up staying on it. I mean, think about Darren. He's a vegan. He's super duper pure. Isabel has a little bit more lateral mobility. I talk to them all the time, and they really believe, and Darren's very much a whole food advocate, but he knows that people aren't going to do what he does, like have a big bowl of lentils for breakfast. No one's doing that. So he'll advocate a shake because it's the best thing to do for our customers, especially those people living a busy life with kids and a family who have to go to work and do things, and they're living a stressful life.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's based in reality.
Yeah, I agree. I think about even my Shakeology story when I started too. I had no idea what clean eating was. And, so introducing Shakeology was the first thing that I did to begin to understand what I was putting into my body. And then it was one meal I didn't have to think about. And I would always talk about it that way. And then as I got more, but even thinking about it, I don't eat all the fruits and vegetables. I maybe like 2 or 3. So at least I'm getting other things from other foods that I won't typically eat. And that's going to be the same thing for your customers too, who don't enjoy certain fruits and vegetables. So.
Great point, Melanie. I think what you just said is what I like to tell my patients, because for years, I've been putting my patients on shakes, and I call it the nutritional safety net. It's what you literally said. And I tell them, listen, just have the shake in the morning, because you're going to go outside and you may see a hot dog, you may have a slice of pizza, you're going to go to Starbucks and get your mid-afternoon muffin with your latte. And that's okay. I'm not going to say that's bad, but the shake covers you. So it's your nutritional safety net.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about even Daily Sunshine, a little bit about Shakeology in kids. I see a couple of questions in there as far as, even too, just talking about ADHD and side effects from medication. So what kind of information can you give on that too?
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's our favorite blend in the house. We got the strawberry. That we make every morning for our daughter. And, technically our son's turning 3, so I'm not supposed to say that our son's drinking it, okay? Because, but let's just say we all love this shake. It's a wonderful shake, and we all sort of consume it in the morning as a family. But we position it for kids who are 4 and older. So why is this so important for kids when we're talking about, let's say, attention deficit disorder? And this goes back to what a lot of doctors have been studying for 30 years. And we think a lot of it is the imbalance of, clearly sugar is a problem. So it's the imbalance of sugar in the diet. And it's not our fault necessarily as parents. The food supply needs to sell more commodity sugar. And so what they do is they hide a lot of sugar, they hide the names of it, and they kind of trick us by putting more carbohydrates and sugars in the products. And we don't know that our kids or our family are getting jacked up on these things. So sugar is definitely an issue. But the fat issue that we touched on earlier is a big, big problem. because we know that there's two things that happen in the body. There's inflammation, which is heating up, and there's cooling off, which is sort of reducing inflammation. When you eat fish, or let's say, I don't know if any of you guys take a fish oil capsule, or if you give your kids omega-3 fish oils, may sound weird, but the omega-3s not only go to your kid's brain, and there's tons of omega-3s for kids, but they also reduce inflammation in the body.
He froze on us. We'll hang. He'll come back. I do chocolate, Diana, for my son, and he loves it, for the Daily Sunshine every single day. My kids do not like the strawberry. Neither one of them did. He's coming back, I promise. But you guys were talking about inflammation, and I think he kind of answered that there as far as like autoimmune disease. I mean, Shakeology, and it has in it, oh, we lost him. He'll come back. Shakeology has, it has the tart cherry extract too, which is also something that helps with joint issues, because I know I take like an additional I can't talk tonight. Tart cherry extract. I put it in my Shakeology, but the Performance line has it also. So, and Shakeology does. So you are getting that in, you know, that helping to reduce that inflammation. So yes, everything in there, those people with autoimmune diseases, lupus. Oh, did you come back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I had an internet, my internet just went out for a second, so I plugged in the hard line. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Okay. We stopped around like omega-3s.
Okay, cool. So, and it sounds like, Melanie, it sounds like you were doing the training, so it's perfect. But I just caught the tail end of what you're saying. So the omega-3s reduce inflammation, and the omega-6 promote inflammation in the body. And that's a good thing, because you need balance in the body. Like if we or a child cuts their skin, the thing that stops the blood from continuing to come out is inflammation. You get a clot, and that's a good thing. But you don't want too much of that clotting going on, because inflammation causes a lot of bad things in the body if it's out of whack. So we believe that this balance is important, and we think the food supply has changed so much in 30 years that a lot of kids have these new diagnoses of hyperactivity when they didn't have it, let's say 30, 40 years ago. We just didn't see it it wasn't a common diagnosis. So to Daily Sunshine, and just like Shakeology, it's also balanced with the healthy fats. And again, if you listen to Isabel, she'll talk about putting avocado. She likes to add avocado to the shakes, I think for her children or for herself or for her son and herself. Because again, those monounsaturated omega-9s, which are not omega-3 nor omega-6, they're like the neutral middles. And they sort of like are very healthy, and they kind of cover the receptor so the omega-6 doesn't cause inflammation. All this stuff we know in a lot of studies does wonders. In tons of studies, it seems to not only reduce inflammation, but we think it may help with depression. And I'm not saying our products cure this. What I'm saying is that diets that are rich in omega-3s tend to have reduced depression, less inflammation, less cardiovascular disease, less stroke, and less ADD and developmental disorders in kids. So it's a very powerful thing when we look at countries like Japan, where they eat lots of fish, and they don't have a lot of processed fried foods. We go to Peru, lots of fish. They don't eat a lot of processed foods. The Mediterranean diet around Italy and Croatia, lots of fish, not a lot of processed foods. So that's a sign that the omega-6s are low and the omega-3s are high. So what does it mean? A last point. When I would buy buttermilk, I used to love buttermilk ranch salad dressing. And one day my mentor at UCLA said, when you buy buttermilk ranch, why do you think it's not refrigerated? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, that's buttermilk. That should be in the refrigerator. The reason it's not is because they put omega-6, which are these chemically modified fats, which allow you to have this creamy ranch dressing, and that's not refrigerated. That's really bad. So since then, I stopped buying buttermilk ranch because it's really high in omega-6, and it's very pro-inflammatory. So if you can get like an oil and vinegar, you can do your own vinaigrette, you do lemon juice, whatever you like to do. So that's an example of how you can help kids reduce the omega-6 burden and raise the omega-3. But Daily Sunshine helps with that.
So would you suggest an additional supplement like the omega-3s for kids, or does Daily Sunshine take care of that?
So I personally, I'll tell you what I do. We get our kids omega-3, and believe it or not, our kids love it. At first it was kind of weird for them, but they flavor them. They don't taste like fish oil, and they can flavor them with lemon or orange or even bubble gum. It's kind of weird, but they're really good companies that make fish oil for kids. And we do a little tablespoon, and the kids take one each every morning. I'm a big fan of that because I think it's really important for the kids' brain development, for their heart development, and for the skin development, but also for the hyperactivity and how they do in school and their listening ability.
That is really good to know. I know I have an ADD child at home, so that helps. Okay, let's see. Any other questions that we didn't get to? There was one on protein. And she says, I'm curious because I've been asked, if cows are not grass-fed and organic, can we still guarantee that they are not GMO, corn/soy? She said, this is a hot topic and something I've wondered about. Is there a reason why Shakeology doesn't use grass-fed organic protein?
It's a great question. So it's a blend, and we can't guarantee that the whey protein, and by the way, the dairy, so I should say there's two things that come from our cows, or the cows that we buy the milk from, I should say, the dairy proteins. We get the whey, which is in your Shakeology whey, and you'll find that in Recover. So that's WHEY, whey protein. It's a super clean blend of whey protein. And we know that because I know the head of R&D and I talk to him all the time. And I know the guys and girls who go out and do the white glove test, and they check what's called the specs, the specifications on the whey protein at the ingredient supplier, and then they check when it arrives. Now, what do they do with the whey protein? They have to dry it. They have to take the fat out. They take the lactose out, the milk sugar. So if you have someone who's lactose intolerant, so we get this very clean whey protein. Now, if you're using Recharge, and you'll notice this in the Recover and Recharge, you'll see something called micellar casein, CASEIN. Casein is a little bit different than whey. It's slower absorbed. So the Recover, not that we're doing a training on these two, but we're going to get back to your specific question. Whey is fast. That's why you take Recover right after your 80-day obsession workout. Casein's slow. That's why you take this at night. And they both help to sort of rebuild your muscle tissue. Now, specifically to your question about the sort of the purity and the GMO corn and soy, we don't know exactly what those farmers are giving the cows. We believe that all cows are going to be pasture fed for most of their life. It's really the last few weeks of the cow's life where some farmers will allow them to keep eating grass and they can fatten them up with natural things, or some farmers will fatten them up with corn and soybean, which is what your question was. And there's a lot of sort of writings on this, a lot of research on this. Now, we are getting some of our whey. So I think the cleanest whey that we know of is we get it from the US, we get some from Australia, New Zealand, and we get some from, Ireland. And those three places are some of the three places where you're going to find the most number of organic farmers. So we're already finding organic farmers, but we can't guarantee all the supply is 100% organic. So that's the reason why we can't actually write it on the label. But I can tell you that it's super clean. It has no additives, no preservatives. I think I've looked at the specs, and the things that the growth hormones and medicines that they give a lot of cows that eat that genetically modified corn and stuff, we don't have that in our specifications when we look at our ingredient manufacturing. I've seen that paperwork. So it gave me a tremendous amount of confidence. But again, we can't write organic whey or organic casein on the label. So I guess what I would say is trust that we've got really great sources, really clean sources. We are looking into ways of providing that. But one of the problems is we think the companies who claim that are kind of lying, because when you look at the number of farmers, there are probably not enough farmers to service a global supply of organic whey, or I should say pure grass-fed whey. So we think all farmers are kind of doing something to fatten up the cow in the last several weeks. We just don't know exactly what. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't really, I'm sorry, I didn't give you like the one. So the answer is we can't certify it, and we won't do that because it would be sort of illegal to say, oh, but a lot of companies that are doing that, we're not so sure if that's true. So just understand that ours doesn't have the pesticides, herbicides, and things that you would find in the corn or soy that would get into the milk, because we test for those levels, and that's a good sign. And also the antibiotics and the antiviral medications that they give some of these the corn-fed cows, we don't see that in the milk. That's why I'm very confident it's really clean.
That's good. That is perfect. Thank you. All right, guys, I want to let you go because I know it's really important that you wanted to get home and get your kids off to bed. So I appreciate so much that you were able to give us an hour of your time and share all of this great information. And if you can just send me over that little email that you have with all of the things that are not in Shakeology, I think that's very helpful. And then, guys, if you have any additional questions at any point in time, like feel free. I'll just do a little survey in our team page. If there are any follow-ups, I'll just compile a list and I'll just send them over if there's anything else that you guys have that you would like clarified. But honestly, I just feel like this is such great quality information that helps you to be able to go back and talk to your customers and say, look, against everything else out there, we know that the quality of what we are delivering is above anything else. And we have this incredible team that is dedicated to making sure that you are getting exactly what is being promised to you. And there are not a lot of other companies out there that can do that. So I think it's really cool what we have. We have something unique and different. And I know I've been drinking Shakeology for 7 years now, which is insane. And everything down from the inflammation to my nails, to my hair, to my immune system, I know our family can tell such a big difference. So we are loving it and very thankful for Beachbody and Shakeology. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time this evening.
Always, Melanie, always a pleasure. And I'm happy to do it again anytime. And I want to thank you and your organization, all your coaches, and all of you out there in the network, because I know how challenging it is to get folks excited about nutrition. So I just love what you're doing. And I hope that I get to meet many of you soon. And I'd love to do more calls with more of your questions. So thanks for your time.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a great evening, guys. I'll get this uploaded and posted in the team page, and you can share it with anybody that couldn't be on live. So have a great rest of the week, and I will see you guys later. Bye, everybody. Take care.